maximum value. Dan Mandis here. Don't worry about showings, open houses, or costly repairs. Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed all-cash offer does allow you to bypass the market, receive an all-cash offer, and close within days. They've got, Mark Spain Real Estate, over 12,500 five-star reviews. Check them out today. Also, over the last 30 years, 67,500 satisfied clients. So spring into action and sell your home with confidence. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be. There's no obligation. 855-299-SOLD. 855-299-SOLD. You can find them online. It is markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing. 637. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. For one clear example of why Joan Jones secretly hates working with me. Joan, how are the futures right now?
I do not hate working with you. And they're looking actually really good right now.
Yeah.
Dow futures up 462. That's higher than it was like a couple of minutes ago when I said the futures. NASDAQ futures up 343 and the S&P futures gaining 84. So, I mean, looking really good. Actually, last week, I know it was a roller coaster ride, but all three indexes were up over 4.5% at the end of the week. So
interesting.
Yeah, you're hearing so much from the media about, you know, how terrible it is.
Joan,
wow.
It's chaos.
Yes, it's chaos, and President Trump is bringing it, but the markets are really not doing badly at all.
Okay, very good. We'll watch that this morning. Joan Jones on Super Talk 99.7. So, Elizabeth Warren, and by the way, I asked for if you could send one person on a one-way ticket to space, who would it be? And you can send that into 615-737-9986. Got a lot of Hillary Clintons, got a lot of Stephen Colbert's, and a lot of Jasmine Crockett. Hey, KGB, can you, because I'm trying to broadcast here, can you go onto the super text line and kind of just, you don't have to do a tally, and you're going to tally, and we'll talk about it here in a bit. But tell me who people are saying, because I know that there's a lot of Jasmine Crockett's as well.
There's two big ones, Hillary Clinton and Maxine Waters.
Okay, I'm just going to say it. I might get in trouble for saying this. Folks, they're too old.
Oh, you want someone in their prime.
That's exactly right.
Okay. That sounds terrible. That's worse.
I may regret that comment.
Yeah.
Moving right along. So Elizabeth Warren was on with Jake Tapper. I think that's NBC, is it? Whatever. Jake Tapper. And she's talking about Donald Trump, and she continues to try to sell this line of chaos and corruption related to Donald Trump's tariff, which, by the way, if you're looking at, CNN, you're looking at, as Joan was saying, you're looking at all of the media today, they're trying to sell this chaos and corruption. And so she continues to try to utilize this line, and it didn't seem like Tapper was really buying it. He wasn't hearing any of it. And finally, he asked about the Democrats and their falling polling numbers. This is how that went.
Why do you think the Democratic Party has such a low approval rating? I would think this would be an opportunity for Democrats to rise and present an alternative, but it doesn't seem like that's happening. And as you know, your party's approval ratings are historically low.
Look, the way I look at this is that Donald Trump has created a lot of chaos in his first 3 months in Washington.
So that's her take, that Donald Trump created chaos, has nothing to say about Democrats. And so did she get into any actual specifics?
Remember, he started out, made the promise that on day one, he would lower prices for American families. Those were his words, on day one.
Right. And on day one, Donald Trump signed all those executive orders working on lowering those prices. He can't just wave a magic wand and make prices go down. What he needed to do, and he's doing that, is working on policies that would lower those prices, including, obviously, trying to lower the cost of gas. So inflation has dropped under Donald Trump. Gas prices are down. Vegetables, eggs, veal, and overall meat, all of these prices have gone down, and jobs are up. So now we need to see exactly what the tariff war is going to do to the economy, because we don't really know what's going to happen. But don't let the talking points of the Democrats, remember, chaos and corruption, don't let the talking points of these Democrats sway you to thinking that Donald Trump is screwing up. I don't believe that he is. But she continued the attack.
Our job is to fight against a Republican Party that not only doesn't care about those families, but is working hard right now while all this chaos is going on to give more tax cuts to billionaires and billionaire corporations and to cut access to Social Security, to cut veterans services, to cut health care for little babies and for seniors.
It's so
in nursing homes,
tiring and boring.
Help for our public schools.
So Trump isn't cutting Social Security. As a matter of fact, he wants to cut the taxes on Social Security. No, the Republicans have said over and over ad nauseum that they don't want to cut Medicaid. They don't want to cut Medicare. They don't want to cut veterans benefits. They want to make the VA more efficient to help the veterans even more. As far as Medicaid and Medicare, there's enormous fraud. And if you clean up the fraud, then guess what? There's more for the people that actually, the Americans, that actually should be on those various programs. And no, they actually want to cut the Department of Education and give that money back to the states to better our schools. And so these vapid talking points, I don't believe that the talking points are doing anyone any good. Now, Bill Maher had his dinner with Donald Trump, and we told you all about it. He finally came out on Friday and spoke about his experiences with Donald Trump. And so leading up to it, Maher talked about, because remember, Bill Maher, leftist. He and Donald Trump have been trading jabs for years. And then Kid Rock was able to convince Bill Maher and Donald Trump, hey, why don't you two just get together and sit down and have a chat?
As you know, 12 days ago, I had dinner with President Trump, a dinner that was set up by my friend Kid Rock, because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. Yep. I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute.
All right, so he's right, actually. Remember the poll that we talked about, assassination culture amongst the left, where 55% of Democrats could at least somewhat justify the assassination of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, or the fact that Democrats are polling the lowest in their history. So Bill Maher deciding that he was going to go see Donald Trump, it caused all of this angst on the left. And as usual, he got all kinds of hatred. We're going to talk about what happened that night, that fateful night, coming up from Bill Maher's monologue. It is all straight ahead at 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather for today, going to be a high of 82, partly cloudy, some rain possible tonight around 9 or 10 o'clock. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So Bill Maher and Donald Trump, when this dinner was scheduled, Maher decided that, he had to prepare.
First good sign, before I left for the Capitol, I had my staff collect and print out this list of almost 60 different insulting epithets that the president has said about me. Things like stupid, dummy, lowlife dummy, sleazebag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy. Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog, his show is dead. It was 60. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did. With good humor. And I know as I say that, millions of liberal sphincters just tightened. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, Bill, are you going to say something nice about him? What I'm going to do is report exactly what happened. You decide what you think about it. And if that's not enough pure Trump hate for you, I don't give a
So there you go, Bill Maher. Now, the difference, what he's going to talk about is the difference between Donald Trump and his public persona and his private personality. And part of what is going on, I believe, and Maher's going to get into this, you have some people that are saying out there, oh, for Donald Trump, this was all a publicity stunt. I disagree, but that is part of what people are saying to Bill Maher. But I think that the difference between Trump's private personality and what he does sort of out in the public conversation, I think there's a method to Donald Trump's madness, and I'm going to talk about that. So here's part of what Maher said.
Just for starters, he laughs. I'd never seen him laugh in public, but he does, including at himself. And it's not fake. Believe me, as a comedian of 40 years, I know a fake laugh when I hear it.
So, yeah, Maher was surprised that Donald Trump in private actually laughs. And it sounds like they actually had some very hearty laughs, as a matter of fact. And Maher was actually surprised that Trump does not seem to take himself too seriously.
Example, in the Oval Office, he was showing me the portraits of presidents, and he pointed to Reagan and said, in all seriousness, you know, the best thing about him, his hair. I said, well, there was also that whole bringing down communism thing, waiting for the button next to the Diet Coke button to get pushed and I go through the trap door. But no, he laughed, he got it. I said to him at one point, Mr. President, you know the dog, that's unusual in the White House. He said, well, a lot of the presidents, they had a dog for political reasons. I said, no, people love dogs, that's what that is. Oh yeah, okay, that's true.
I mean, listen, very funny. But then Maher gets into the nitty gritty of Donald Trump, the real Donald Trump. In his mind, that was incredibly impressive.
At one point, we were walking through it is an amazing tour of the whole house. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it must have been something with the 2020 election, because I know he used the word lost. And I distinctly remember saying, wow, I never thought I'd hear you say that. He didn't get mad. He's much more self-aware than he lets on in public. Look, I get it. It doesn't matter who he is at a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage. I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists, because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing, people whose response to things you say just doesn't track, like, what? None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know, your mind is blown, so's mine.
So the question is, who is the real Donald Trump? You know, I believe that one of the things that goes on with the president is that he can't be too predictable. He's got to show some, I don't know, what would you call it? I'm not going to call it an imbalance, but that is one way to discuss it. That's one way to frame it. Because he's got to keep our foreign enemies on their toes. He cannot be too unpredictable. He can't be too predictable. He's got to be unpredictable. Because that does keep our enemies like China and Iran and North Korea on their toes, because they don't know what the heck he's going to do. And that's important. Unpredictability is one of Donald Trump's biggest strengths. Nobody knows how he is going to react. I mean, the tariffs. You know, he comes out with these massive tariffs, more than anyone thought. Then he comes back with that 90-day pause, and everybody is, okay, relieved that it's only a 10% tariff, except for China. then all these other nations are happy with the 10% and they're really ready to negotiate. So his public persona, that unpredictability, is all about negotiations.
I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will. Me, I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days.
All right, so I want to make sure you heard that, because I picked up on it immediately.
And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama.
Did he not vote for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? I'm going to play it one more time.
And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama.
Oh, well, maybe he didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Maybe he didn't vote for Joe Biden. But the bottom line is he keeps on this sort of path, this discussion regarding, okay, well, then who is or what is the real Donald Trump?
The most surreal part of the whole night was when I got home. I flew back right after the dinner, and I'm in bed watching 60 Minutes from the night before. And there's Trump in one of their stories, standing at a podium in a room that looked to me like one of the rooms and places we'd just been in. And he's ranting, disgusting, you're a terrible person. And I'm like, who's that guy? What happened to Glinda the Good Witch?
Kind of funny. He actually sounded like Bernie Sanders, but...
And why can't we get the guy I met to be the public guy? And I'm not saying it's our responsibility to do that. It's not. I'm just reporting exactly what I saw over 2.5 hours. I went into the mine, and that's what's down there. A crazy person doesn't live in the White House. A person who plays a crazy person on TV a lot lives there, which I know is up. It's just not as up as I thought it was.
All right, so he goes on for a few more minutes, some great moments, actually, where he says, Bill Maher says, that he and Donald Trump, they did find some common ground.
Okay, that's my report. You can hate me for it, but I'm not a liar. Trump was gracious and measured, and why he isn't that in other settings, I don't know, and I can't answer, and it's not my place to answer. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I wasn't high.
So there you go, Bill Maher and his report on what it was like to dine with Donald Trump. 6:54, Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones is in the WTN Newsroom. Hey, Joan.
Hey there. So we have new information about the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion and what's behind a ground stop over the weekend at BNA. We've got those stories coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.